Please take a moment to straighten your mats and cushions, and then come stand together for the chanting of the refuges. Your hands palm to palm, gesture of sincere heart, we call hapchang. And we will first take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha in Sino-Korean out of respect to our lineage, and then a second time in English. Chanting. Santu il I go for refuge to the Buddha.
I go for refuge to the Buddha.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
And realize the great way.
And realize the great way.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
And uncover oceans of wisdom.
And uncover oceans of wisdom.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
And transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
And transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
Please return to your places now for another shorter period of meditation. Taking a moment to check in with your posture. Feeling a lengthening through the crown of the head. A slight lift to the breastbone. A slight tuck to the chin. Shoulders are in line with hips. Ears in line with shoulders. Harmonizing with gravity. In a posture of alertness and ease. Staring down the bridge of the nose to a spot about 45 degrees on the carpet or ground in front of you. The gaze is soft. The eyes are half open. The inner eye is with your concentration practice. Listening to the sound of the bell, please go to your practice for a few minutes.
Please join me in some simple stretching to end our meditation and practice. Forming the hands, and then massaging the bony ridge of the skull. Leaning forward on the fists and stretching the spine, eyes up.
Well, good morning, everyone. Seems a little loud. My name is Jagwa. I am one of the Dharma teachers here at the Ann Arbor Temple. And if anyone is chilly, by the way, we have a basket by the door with some blankets in it, so feel free to grab one. We have the windows open for ventilation, but you're welcome to take a blanket. It's definitely beginning to be fall. Is anybody here for the first time? A couple of people. Okay, well, welcome.
You'll notice that many of our teachers and residents are not here this morning. A few folks have some mild cases of COVID, so they are quarantining in their rooms for a little while. And so I have the pleasure of leading the service 2 weeks in a row. If you were here last week, I also got to see you then. And I was thinking about what to talk about, particularly with only a couple of days to kind of reflect and prepare. And I thought, well, when you're not sure what to do, go back to basics. So I'd like to talk today a little bit about the first precept. And that is the precept that is really the foundation for the moral guidelines, all the rest of the precepts, of which there are varying numbers, but in our community, generally we study 8 to 10. So I'm going to talk about that. And I also wanted to share sort of a couple of readings that I think will help bring a couple different perspectives to that first precept. And then we'll have an opportunity to do a longer guided meditation at the end that I think will also maybe bring a little bit of direct experience to that. So the precepts are the basic moral guidelines of Buddhism. And what's interesting about them is that they, at first glance, sound pretty cut and dry. Sort of maybe you might conceive of a list of do's and don'ts. So I'll read them. But when you actually begin to work with the precepts in your life, you find that it's a lot more complicated than that, because each situation you have to attune to what is the situation really calling for? How do I live out the spirit of this guideline in this complicated situation? So I'd like to read all 8 of the precepts that we generally study as part of the formal precept taking at this temple, which happens once a year and culminates in a special service for those who have been studying precepts to receive their Dharma name and to formally commit to becoming Buddhist. So that just happened this summer. So I'll read the 8 and then I'll talk a little bit more about the first one, of which the rest of the 8 kind of are built upon. So number 1, I resolve to abstain from doing harm, but to cherish all life. Two, I resolve to abstain from taking what is not given, but to respect the things of others. 3, I resolve to abstain from engaging in sexual misconduct, but to practice purity of mind and self-restraint. 4, I resolve to abstain from lying, but to speak the truth. 5, I resolve to abstain from partaking in the production and trading of firearms and chemical poisons. 6, I resolve to abstain from wasting, but to conserve energy and natural resources. 7, I resolve to abstain from harboring enmity against the wrongs of others, but to promote peace and justice through nonviolent means. 8, I resolve to abstain from clinging to things that belong to me, but to practice generosity and the joy of sharing. And then I'd like to read just one other version of the first precept, and this is from what is called the Brahma's Net Sutra version of the precepts. So the sutra is a scripture of Buddhist text. So this is a slightly different wording. Do not harm, but cherish all life. If you violate this precept, you will destroy your seed of compassion. Therefore, you will not be able to go forth on the Bodhisattva path. So I was thinking back to when I first started studying these precepts. I think it was around 6 or 7 years ago. I took the precept sort of formal study practice in which you become a Buddhist and receive a Dharma name minus Jagwa. And of course, we started with the first precept. And we were supposed to kind of keep a journal with some reflections or how to really work with this in your daily life. And at first I thought, okay, well, don't hurt other people, don't hurt animals, plants, etc. It seems kind of straightforward. But I had this experience one day when I was driving to work, and it had been a stressful week. And at that time, I was working in kind of a consulting role where I had a lot of clients, and they always needed something from me. And I was always trying to juggle a lot of different tasks and projects and kind of manage a lot of different people's expectations, emotional energies. And it had been a challenging week. I think one of the clients was upset about something, although at this point, I don't remember what exactly had happened. And so I was driving to work and sort of mentally armoring myself for the day and going through this checklist of all of the things that I had done wrong the previous day. You should have said this. You didn't get back to this person. This person's going to be upset about this. You're going to need to get back to them today. And I had this feeling like each of the checklist items was this little pin that I was sticking in a pin cushion. And I remember relating this story to a friend later, and my friend said, well, you're the pin cushion, but you're also the person sticking in the pins. Have you ever thought about that? And I think that was my first sort of realization that the non-harming actually applied to me too. Because up until that point, it had seemingly been directed only at people outside of me. But I hadn't really realized how much my own mental activity was creating suffering for myself, which frequently, honestly, would then get directed at other people, that internal narrative. And so that was maybe the first aha moment that I had working with this precept with my own kind of karmic habits. And then just a smaller other brief anecdote came to me when I was driving in this morning. About 4 years ago, a group of us were traveling to New York City, where we also have a temple, for the summer meditation retreat, which is about 5 days and then followed by some annual meetings of our organization. All of the students and teachers get together. And it's a long drive to New York from Michigan, about 10 hours. And about a couple of hours into the drive, so this was all the clergy. At the time I was a student, Tongsan was there. And I noticed that my teacher, Haji Sunim, who is our senior priest at this temple, occasionally would make hapchang and a little bow, seemingly at random. And I was very struck by this. And I was trying to figure out why. And a few more hours passed, and then I was able to connect it to, she was bowing at animals that had been killed on the highway. And I was so struck by that little practice. I had never seen anyone do that, and to this day I have adopted that when I'm driving. And maybe it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but what I think it does is it's a moment of recognition of this other life. and also just a way to not become numb to the loss of life, even when it is very common for animals to be hit by cars. And so I think that's another example of how noticing just this small habit of mind or habit of body, either something that can be harmful or something that can be positive, helps feed that nurtures that seed of compassion that we heard about in that one translation of the first precept. And then this other text has come to me recently because we've been studying it as a group. We have some formal training programs for students who want to study Buddhism, and we meet once a month. And so for the last month, we've been studying a text written by our founding teacher, Venerable Samsunim, who was a Korean monk. There's a portrait of him right outside the door that you can take a look at if you've never seen what he looks like. And this was a text that he wrote for New Year's service back in 2012. And I'm just going to read the first one. It's a little long, but I think this first one relates to what we're talking about. Life is a great and wonderful journey for all beings. In this endless and collective journey, all beings are in kinship with one another. Anywhere, anytime, as multifaceted and varied as the outward forms of many different lives may look, they all evolve and coalesce into one whole shared life over a long wayfaring of many lifetimes. Therefore, all lives are precious and must be cherished in order to maintain the movement of life force. It is our duty as Buddhists to ensure the integrity of our journey together toward the salvation of all. Let us cultivate friendship and strive to promote peace and perfect harmony among all beings. Be grateful for your being here and now among the living. Share your happiness and blessings. And what I like about this passage is, I think it kind of explains the why of this first precept. We're all traveling together in a shared life over a long wayfaring of many lifetimes. Therefore, all lives are precious and must be cherished in order to maintain the movement of life force. So when you take this much bigger view, it's much, following precepts is much less about sort of the do's and don'ts, or I should do this in order to be a good person, that sort of thing. But really this bigger kind of almost cosmic recognition of the fact that we're all traveling together in this life and many lifetimes beyond that. And that is such a precious interconnection that even the smallest life really matters. So I just wanted to share that because it was one of the more kind of simple and clear explanations that I personally connect to the first precept that I had read in a little while. And then I have a note in here too. There was one other brief anecdote that I had thought of when I was composing my thoughts. So I think Sunim's writing is a little bit about sort of recognizing ourself and others in ourself, that interconnected idea. And then sort of like, what does that really look like when we encounter someone who shows us that? And I was thinking back to a story I had read by an American Buddhist teacher named Dosho Port, who studied with a Japanese master in the 1980s in Minnesota named Katagiri Roshi. And Dosho tells a story about he had been coming to the temple there for, I think, a couple of years. And then something happened that just really pissed him off, and he left. Mm-hmm. And he didn't really say much about it to his teacher, but he was just so fed up, he thought, I'm going to go and practice by myself, which he did for several months. And then one day he thought, well, I would like to give it another try. So he came back to the temple fully expecting to have some kind of maybe an argument or maybe at least a heart-to-heart with his teacher. And as soon as he showed up, Katagiri Roshi said, "Oh, Dosho, you're back. I'm so glad to see you." As if nothing had happened. And he just folded right back into the flow. And it was either Dosho or one of his other students, because Natalie Goldberg, the writer, was also a student of Katagiri Roshi. And I can't remember which of them described Katagiri in this way, but they said that fighting with him was like trying to fight with a block of tofu. You've got nothing back. And so I think that's an example of someone who's practicing with that such tight interconnection. "Oh, it's so nice to see you again. I'm so glad you're back." Just no pretense, because what would be the point of having an argument with yourself, in a sense? So I love that little story. And I think also that we hear stories about inspiring people and we think, "I'd really like to meet somebody like that," right? Maybe we'll be lucky enough to. And at the same time, we could also hear a story like that and say, "I'd really like to be that person for somebody." And so if that is our desire or intention, sort of how do we develop that capacity? And I think meditation is really, at least in my experience, the foundation where we can have a stable and safe place to begin to notice some of these habits that we may have, habits of mind, ways that we might be harming ourselves or others in our relationships. And to really use that opportunity to kind of see and also heal from some of that habit energy, so that we're not just continuing to perpetuate the same things over and over again. And so I wanted to share just one other brief passage from this book by Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a Vietnamese Zen teacher who just died in the last year. It's called The Heart of the Buddha's Teaching, Transforming Suffering into Peace, Joy, and Liberation. And this is a wonderful book if you are relatively new to Buddhism, or even if you're not. Thich Nhat Hanh has a very clear and accessible way of explaining the teachings. And so I wanted to share a brief couple of pages from a chapter called Stopping, Calming, Resting, Healing, where he's going to talk about the different aspects of Buddhist meditation. Buddhist meditation has two aspects, shamatha and vipassana. We tend to stress the importance of vipassana, looking deeply, because it can bring us insight and liberate us from suffering and afflictions. But the practice of shamatha, stopping, is fundamental. We cannot stop. We cannot have insight. There is a story in Zen circles about a man and a horse. The horse is galloping quickly, and it appears that the man on the horse is going somewhere important. Another man standing alongside the road shouts, "Where are you going?" And the first man replies, "I don't know. Ask the horse." This is also our story. We are riding a horse. We don't know where we are going, and we can't stop. The horse is our habit energy pulling us along, and we are powerless. We are always running and has become a habit. We struggle even during our sleep. We are at war within ourselves, and we can easily start a war with others. We have to learn the art of stopping our thinking, our habit energies, our forgetfulness, the strong emotions that rule us. When an emotion rushes through us like a storm, we have no peace. We turn on the TV and then we turn it off. We pick up a book and then we put it down. How can we stop this state of agitation? Stop our fear, despair, anger, and craving? We can stop by practicing mindful breathing, mindful walking, mindful smiling, and deep looking in order to understand. When we are mindful, touching deeply the present moment, the fruits are always understanding, acceptance, love, and the desire to relieve suffering and bring joy. We need the energy of mindfulness to recognize and be present with our habit energy in order to stop a course of destruction. With mindfulness, we have the capacity to recognize the habit energy every time it manifests. Hello, my habit energy, I see you are there. If we just smile to it, it will lose much of its strength. Mindfulness is the energy that allows us to recognize our habit energy and prevent it from dominating us. So that's the first function of meditation, the stopping. And I'll say a little bit more about the calming, because I think that's important here too. So the second function is calming. When we have a strong emotion, we know it can be dangerous to act, but we don't have the strength or clarity to refrain. We have to learn the art of breathing in and out, stopping our activities and calming our emotions. The Buddha taught many techniques to help us calm our body and mind and look deeply at them. These can be summarized in 5 stages. The first, recognition. If we are angry, we say, I know that anger is in me. 2, acceptance. When we are angry, we do not deny it. We accept what is present. 3, embracing. We hold our anger in our 2 arms like a parent holding a crying baby. Our mindfulness embraces our emotion, and this alone can calm our anger and ourselves. 4, looking deeply. When we are calm enough, we can look deeply to understand what has brought this anger to be and what is causing our baby's discomfort. 5, insight. The fruit of looking deeply is understanding the many causes and conditions, both primary and secondary, that have brought about our anger, that are causing our baby to cry. Perhaps our baby is hungry, his diaper pin is piercing his skin. Our anger was triggered when our friend spoke to us meanly, and suddenly we remember he was not at his best today because his father is dying. We reflect like this until we have some insights into what has caused our suffering. With insight, we know what to do and what not to do to change the situation. So for the last few minutes, I would like to offer a guided metta meditation. And metta can be a foundational practice and a form of meditation that you can learn to guide for yourself. So I will give you a long, more ornate version that we can do together, but you will hear that the basic fundamentals are beginning to cultivate a loving kindness, actual felt sense by thinking about a cherished loved one and how you feel towards that person. And then you eventually extend the circle wider to other people whom you may have difficulty with, and eventually sharing that loving kindness with yourself as well. And I think that metta practice is one of the most powerful treatments, as it were, for beginning to develop some awareness of our suffering and also a place to heal it, and similar to what Thich Nhat Hanh describes. So I think I have the text on my phone, so give me one moment to find it. Okay, so please take a more formal meditation posture. Again, checking in with your alignment of your spine so that your breath can flow more evenly and deeply. And for this meditation, you can allow your eyes to close. This version of a guided metta or loving kindness practice comes to us from Joanna Macy, who is an environmental activist and Buddhist teacher. Close your eyes and begin to relax, exhaling to expel tension. After a few breaths, centering in on the normal flow and rhythm of the breath. Letting go of all extraneous thoughts as you passively watch the breathing in and breathing out. Now, in your mind's eye, find someone whom you love very dearly and see their face, silently speaking their name. Feel your love for this cherished person like a current of energy coming through you. Now, let yourself experience how much you want this person to be freed from fear. How intensely you desire that this person be released from greed and ill will, from confusion and sorrow, and all the causes of suffering. That desire, in all its sincerity and strength, is the great loving kindness. Continue to feel that warm flow of energy coming through the heart. And see now in your mind's eye those with whom you share your daily life, the people you live and work with, family, close friends, colleagues. Let them appear around you. Look at their faces, one by one, silently speaking their names. Directing to each in turn that same current of undiluted loving kindness. Among these beings may be some with whom you are uncomfortable or in conflict. With them especially, experience your desire that each be free from fear, from hatred, free from greed and ignorance, and all the causes of suffering. Now, in wider concentric circles, allow your relatives and acquaintances to appear. Let the beam of loving kindness play on them as well, pausing on the faces that appear in your mind's eye. With them as well, experience how much you want their freedom from greed, fear, hatred, and confusion. How much you want all beings to be happy. Beyond them, in concentric circles that are wider yet, appear now all beings with whom you share this planet time. Though you have not met, your lives are interconnected in ways you do not know. To these beings as well, direct the same powerful current of loving kindness. Experience your desire and your intention that each awaken from fear and hatred, from greed and confusion, that all beings be released from suffering. By the power of our imagination, let us move out now, beyond our planet, out into the universe, into other solar systems, other galaxies, other Buddha fields. The current of loving kindness is not affected by physical distance, and we direct it now, as if aiming a beam of light to all centers of conscious life. To all sentient beings everywhere, we direct our heartfelt wish that they too be free of fear and greed, of hatred and confusion, and the causes of suffering. May all beings be happy. Now, from out in the interstellar distances, turn and behold your own planet, your home. See it suspended there in the blackness of space, like a jewel turning in the light of its sun. that living blue-green planet laced with swirls of white, is the source of all you are, all you've ever known and cherished. Feel how intensely you desire that it survive the dangers of this time. Direct toward it the strong current of your love and earnest prayers for healing. Slowly approach this planet now, drawing nearer, nearer, returning to this very part, this region, this place. And as you enter this place, behold the being you know best of all, the person you've been given to be in this lifetime. You know this person's need for love, the commitments this being worked so hard to carry out. Let the face of this being, your own face, appear before you. And experience with that same strong current of loving kindness how deeply you desire that this being be free from fear, released from greed and hatred, liberated from ignorance and confusion and all the causes of suffering. The great loving kindness linking you to all beings is now directed to your own self. Know now the fullness of it. for going on the journey with me. We have a few moments if anyone would like to have a question or a comment. Anything that you noticed about metta practice? Yeah, if you have a question? Yeah,
I have a question.
let me bring you the microphone, one moment.
Thank you. Are stars angels? What do you think?
Are stars angels?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have any thoughts about that, actually.
Yeah.
I hadn't ever thought about it.
Yeah, it'd be awesome if they were. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I got another one. The minister of my church got mad at me for coming here because he says it's not spiritual. Something like that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Question? Want to comment about your experience?
No, I don't need a microphone.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you.
Well, you're welcome. You're very welcome. Thanks for being here. Okay. Well, thank you all for being here.
You guys are nice. Thank you. Too.
Okay. Well, in that case, I think we have some announcements. Would you like the microphone, Sogal?
Oh, do we need it for the online?
No.
class?
No, they actually can hear better without the microphone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
In that
so-
case, I can project.
But you can stand here so they can see you.
Okay.
Thank you.
What time does it end?
In a couple of minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome in from the 10 directions, everybody. My name is Osogil. I'll try to keep this short, although we have quite a few things going on right now. Firstly, our 4 p.m. service has switched to bi-monthly. So it's only on the first week of the month, so this week, and the third week. So it's not being offered the second and last weeks of the month. We have a family service coming up next weekend. So if you guys want to bring your family, we have children's programs that I used to work in for quite a while, and it was a lot of really good fun. Next week is the family service if you'd like to participate. We have an intensive retreat called the Yangming Zhongjin, which is coming up October 12th through the 15th here at the Ann Arbor Temple. There's more information and there's sign-up sheets for everything that I'm talking about right now outside. We have an introductory meditation course, which is Thursday evening, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. That is starting October 13th. Likewise, we also have yoga classes, which are Tuesday evenings, 6:30 to 8 o'clock, beginning October 18th. So we have a lot of stuff starting up. We also have a fall practice period, which lasts for 8 Sundays, beginning October 16th at 11:45 a.m., so after service. We'll be studying a text called Buddhism Plain and Simple by Steve Hagen. And then we also have some meetings that are over Zoom. We have the Way of the Bodhisattva study group, Thursday mornings, 9:30 to 10 a.m. We also have a members sitting and study of song meditation, which is Wednesdays, 6:30 to 8 p.m. And then we also have a recovery Dharma meeting shortly after. Oh,
I was supposed to host it, but since there's COVID around here, I don't really feel comfortable doing it in person, so I just want to encourage people to do it over Zoom.
okay. Recovery Dharma over Zoom. Good to know. Thank you. And lastly, our priest Haju has asked for some volunteers to join for work practice out in the garden after service. So if any of you guys have time to stick around, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, and lastly, the temple is supported by your kind donations of time and money. There's a fishbowl outside if you would like to contribute in a monetary way. And there's also sign-up sheets for work practice, like helping out in the garden. And that's a really good way to give back. Yeah, I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Did I miss anything?
I think you got it all.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, so to formally close, we will recite the 4 great Bodhisattva vows. So please repeat after me. All beings, one body.
All beings, one body.
I vow to liberate.
I vow to liberate.
Blind passions, one root.
Blind passions, one root.
I vow to terminate.
I vow to terminate.
Dharma gates, one mind.
Dharma gates, one mind.
I vow to penetrate.
I vow to penetrate.
The great way of Buddha.
The great way of Buddha.
I vow to realize.
I vow to realize.
So in preparation for this afternoon's service, we will only use the mats and cushions that are touching the carpet. So an opportunity for a little bit of mindful activity is to put away the mats and cushions very neatly and tidily. The round cushions go on the cubbies here, which Sogyal will help. And then the mats go stacked in that back corner where you see some mats that currently do not have their covers on them. And with the mats, because they are quite floppy, it's important to get them stacked as neatly as possible. Otherwise, the whole stack will fall over. So that's something to keep in mind. So if a couple of folks could stay as we leave the meditation hall to help put away those mats and cushions, that would be very appreciated. So, thank you.